Welcome to Dean Smiles, episode 13. It's been a little while since the last one. A lot of good, cool family, friends, just busy, good spring stuff. Today's episode is Dad Smiles. But before that, I'm Dean. I'm a retired middle school science and STEM teacher. And my life was built around storytellers, whether it was my dad, my grandpa, my grandma, I always enjoyed hearing stories and the history, and also the storyteller, how they would make it more or less entertaining. And it was something that I've used with my family and I used in my classroom. So I've just expanded to my YouTube classroom. So today's episode, Dad Smiles. And last week was my dad's birthday. My dad passed away, it will be 17 years. Still punches you in the gut. It'll be 17 years this fall. He would have been 80 years old. And it seemed appropriate thinking about him and sharing, because last week would have been his birthday. And then on top of it, it's a rainy day today. I, back then, loved rainy days. No, I appreciate them now. But if you know me, and anybody that knows me, and you're probably picking up on the channel, I love the sun, I love the heat. Growing up, rainy days were important, and I'm going to loop around to that in a bit. Some background. My dad graduated from a small rural farm school, went right into farming. He married my mom, and they had me at a young age. The three of us, we were the trio that did everything. And as I look back, in growing up, we were poor. But you know what's interesting? I don't remember feeling poor. We always had food on the table. We had a roof over our heads. We just knew that you're going to have to work for what you do. And my dad lived by finding deals and just a workaround to get the most bang for your buck. I noticed that people had more stuff, but I never felt like I was missing out on anything, which is interesting with all the stuff we all have now. So I cherish that and I reflect on it, and going to share some of the memories that came from that farm raising and then into today. Work ethic. I had chores at a young age. We had cattle, we had pigs, we had grain farm, but something that I am so impressed, and I didn't appreciate at the time, but going through life, we were small farmers, but my dad never had a farm loan. He was able to save, work hard, put money away. Every piece of machinery he bought, he had to work out a deal to do cash. And you think about the discipline it took to save, and while other people are getting this and this and this, and I'm sure FOMO was real back then too, being patient, looking, searching, scouring for that deal, that combine, that tractor that fit the niche but also fit the wallet. And I really appreciate it, admire that. And boy, for me and my brother, saving money was you had to manage your budget. You always wanted to make sure there was more coming in than was going out, and you had to have a rainy day fund. And I appreciate that, because that was passed on to me, and I passed it on to my kids and my family. Deals. My dad was the master of finding deals. he always kept the process of finding deals pretty close. He didn't want to give out his secrets, whether they were, I don't know what they were. He kept them very close. But he could find deals. I remember once a hotel deal, 2 nights at the Holiday Inn by the airport, and this was when breakfasts were not normal at hotels. They had rolls, coffee, and a small little breakfast nook. 2 nights for $59, and this was a nice hotel. Fast forward, my dad we were big sports fans, and I don't know how it came about, but he was a Detroit Tiger, Detroit Lion fan. So of course I got pulled into that. My first exposure was the 1968 World Series, and I was very young. I was only 5 years old. Wow. 1968. Okay, anyway, we were watching Game 6, and you know what's weird? I can't remember stuff that I want to remember, but I can remember this. We were watching the game, and I'm sure my dad was just annoyed with me because I was asking all sorts of questions about baseball. I was just learning about baseball and how runs work and the base running and all this and that. And Game 6, they were playing St. Louis Cardinals, and bases were loaded. Jim Northrup came up to bat, hit a home run, and I was astonished. 1 hit could get you 4 runs. They won the game. I remember asking my dad and asking my grandma, it's like, but he only hit 1 home run. Why does he get 4? Well, it's the runners on first, second, and third. Tigers won Game 6, went on to win Game 7, World Series champions. So that was our pull into baseball, and baseball was always kind of a big part of our family, more of a cornerstone than any of the other sports. Fast forward, 1984. Another year the Tigers won the World Series, but this was at the beginning of the season. I think we were only a week in. Dad found a deal at a hotel right across the street from Royal Stadium in Kansas City. So we went down and watched them. Tigers won big. It was fun. They had a loaded team. I believe that year they started out the year like 35-5. So we went back to the hotel. It was me and my first wife, my mom, my dad, and my grandma. And we got a suite, so it all worked out for me and for us. And we were just sitting around, and I could just tell something was up. And I don't know if he had something up his sleeve or whatever. And he looked at me and he said, should we go down and get a drink? Now, my dad wasn't a big drinker, so I should have been suspicious of that. But we went down, and it's like, okay, I wasn't tired. We're in a big city. This is cool. We went down, and it was the bartender, a waitress, maybe half a dozen other people there. Pretty quiet. We were sitting there, and all of a sudden, 2 Detroit players, Dan Petrie, Milt Wilcox, walked in, sat down. They ordered a beverage, and Dad was like, well, go say hi to them, So we walked over, introduced ourselves. Milt Wilcox, what a sassy, smart aleck, just sarcastic. My dad just thought he was awesome. These were the number 2 and number 3 pitchers for Detroit that went on to win the World Series. How did my dad know, or was it luck? I don't know. But I cherished that moment. It was just him and I down there at the bar. We got to meet 2 of our baseball stars together, and it just warmed my heart. It was like, this was before social media. I didn't even get an autograph. I was just taking it in, getting, asking questions. They were just two guys that were excited that we were talking to them. No pictures or whatever. So that is a very, very fond memory. So deals. It was what drove us. It just made sense. And rainy days were the days that the deals came together. So on the farm, coming back to the rain, it's a beautiful, nice rainy day today. Things are green. As of right now, the drought is turned the corner. But I would see these clouds come up. And I would listen to the radio, and they were forecasting rain. And I just knew if we got rain, it was a play day. We got to go to Fairmont. We got to go to Okoboji. We got to go to Mankato. We were going to go somewhere, and it was going to be an adventure. And within that adventure, Dad always found a deal. There was always a deal to get the most bang for your buck, for a burger, for a lunch. His favorite lunch, hot beef commercial. He could find a deal. But rainy days just put smiles on our faces when it was just the three of us. And then when Ryan came, Ryan's 8 years younger than I am, brought him in, and then he screwed everything up. No, I'm kidding. Then the four of us. And every so often, if there was like a big rainy day, I remember one time a storm came through, it drenched things, and Dad called up to the resort up by Spicer on Ness Lake. I think it was Camp LaRue, and they had an opening. So we literally packed up the next day, went for 3 days, 2 nights, went fishing. It was fabulous. So these rainy days just make me smile. And it was also, class was in session, because that's when Dad would talk about, the rain nourishes the crops. Farmers, we think we're doing it, but God's really doing all the magic. But the rain makes it come together and moves us forward and get closer to the harvest. And those things were just very, it was cool. And I'm happy. Move forward, fast forward. My dad had to literally push me into technology. Can you believe that? For my family and friends, tech is a big part of everything I did in school, and has been a big part of my career. But going way back, he had a guy, and he negotiated a price, and this was a 386 PC, and he literally had to push me into buying it. And I was like, okay. And he always kept saying, make sure you train yourself and get a job that you use the muscles between your ears, not below your ears, because when you get older, it's gonna wear your body down. But if you get a job that you use between your ears, you're gonna be in good shape. Well, that was the gateway drug. Got the first computer, got my first teaching job. I've created many web pages, and I've always tried to use technology as a tool to share the learning, because I could share what it did for me, but it was always so cool to see the student perspective of, but Mr. Dahl, what about if we use it like this? Or, what I did? We did it like this. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Well, fast forward, it has opened the door to meet so many amazing people. Megan pushed me and Angie pushed me so much, and I would just steal ideas. They were sharing them, I wasn't stealing them, but I would take things back to my classroom, back to my school, because I was surrounded by a tech community that was so talented and so eager to share. Fast forward, I applied and got into, at that time it was the Google Teacher Academy, GTA, and I got to be a certified Google teacher. I got to go to the Google campus, geek out. It was so incredibly cool. And to this day, I mean, look at, because of my dad pushing me, I'm using YouTube to share these stories. Thanks, Dad. But it took that pushing me to buy that first computer. I didn't buy into it, and look where it's taken me. So, a book that hits home, wrapping this up. I could have talked for hours on this. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. You don't have to go far. You're part of a unique club when you lose a parent. And I read a book, My Father's Heart. It'll be listed in the link below. And it very much paralleled the relationship I had with my dad. And my dad, our relationship was a little bumpy at times, for sure. We were both very stubborn people, and yeah. But in the book, the son, lost his dad and asked, does the hurt ever go away? And you never forget the loved one, but over time, the hurt turns to a warm embrace of your heart. And that's definitely been the way it has been for my dad. We had some moments where we could knock heads, but I kind of forget about all those and remember the cool things. I hope you take some time to reach out and share the stories of your loved ones that may have passed. If you lost a parent or loved one, capture those stories, let them warm your heart, and share them with people. And I would love to hear your comments of stories how your parent that maybe has passed, that has influenced your life and still influences your life. Thank you so much for making this far. Keep smiling, and smile for the loved one that maybe isn't here, and definitely share a smile with a loved one that is still here. Have a great day.